Thanks everyone for joining us. This is another episode of Smart City Policy Stories. Thanks so much for being here today. It's kind of talking about the tail end of COVID, and hopefully we're going to be back out and enjoying different corners of the country and different cities here very quickly. People are starting to travel more and more frequently and having great experiences when they do. And one place where you're going to have a great experience every time is a city that people always enjoy, the city of San Antonio. So joining us from San Antonio is Liz Burt. Liz, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us what you do.
Sure. Liz Burt with Centro San Antonio. We are a placemaking nonprofit that's dedicated to making downtown more beautiful, welcoming, prosperous, and playful. We oversee the Public Improvement District, which is 0.83 square miles of that center city, but what we lack in size, we make up for in historical and cultural assets that are unmatched and unrivaled.
You know, people do. I mean, when they go to San Antonio, they just have a great time. The city is so rich with history and such great food. But on top of that, what you guys have done is connected the downtown area and these different kind of sections of downtown so well. I think there's different elements of tremendous dynamism down there, and you're clearly thinking about adding new elements all the time, because every time I go down there, there's something new and fun. Talk to us a little bit about the different nature of dynamic projects that you've put in place in downtown San Antonio.
Yeah, I mean, so downtown San Antonio offers the ultimate retropolitan. And I mean, retropolitan and blending kind of this historic and contemporary landscape, architecture, and experience, countless historic and cultural assets, whether it's the largest urban ecosystem in North America, known as the Riverwalk, or the UNESCO World Heritage Sites that include the Missions to our south, but also the Alamo, which is, the second most visited place in Texas, but offers, again, such a sense of place that is really unrivaled. It also offers these tenured kind of traditions of being known as a multi-generational maker and artisan space, really offering kind of distinct and puro San Antonio, but also South Texas offerings. It's also very welcoming and beautiful aesthetically. We've extended the Riverwalk to the north to include the Pearl District, which was a dilapidated industrial site, a brewery, and a ditch affectionately called by Kit Goldsberry, who funded this amazing placemaking effort to really turn it into one of the best plazas offered in America. And then on the south side, you have, again, this connection to the Missions, which is not only on a street level, but also on the river level. You have this incredible ecosystem of all kinds of really great things you can see. I've seen bald eagles nesting. I've seen all kinds of tropical wild birds from South and Central Texas. So with every kind of connectivity choice, there's a thoughtful environmental and community benefit that, again, connects those hyper locals to these important places, but also allow these really dynamic visitor experiences and almost cultural pilgrimages, if you will. So you can go to the Missions and you can attend a mariachi mass that you could have attended when it was truly a mission managed by the archdiocese and colonial. So again, lots of opportunities and assets, but ultimately I think it's the hospitality. We really truly treat and plan and make experiences for all users. That includes visitors, hyper locals, residents, and employees, but also includes our most vulnerable populations, because we really believe that downtown and the surrounding greater downtown is for everyone. And we want to celebrate and welcome every person that wants to experience our city through our downtown offerings, truly feel a sense of place and purpose.
Oh, that's great. That's an incredible vision statement, really, and mission statement. That's just wonderful. So on the experiences, what I think you do that must be so special is there's probably not a week that goes by where I think you're not able to go home and say, that little story that I saw today of where something special happened, something magical happened, where you saw some little kid's eyes open up wide, or some couple do something really interesting. You get to do that all the time. I mean, you're seeing all of these neat instances that occur without tipping your hat to your favorite project or anything like that, or if maybe you could. But tell us a little bit about maybe something that you've seen that really stuck with you.
Yeah, this pandemic has been interesting, right? In the absence of people and users, we've really been able to double down on some of our public art efforts. So we have a four-story indigenous mural by an artist named Rudy Herrera, raised in San Antonio, and offering this four-story story that's on a historic crest building. Which I think is a really important moment in time for San Antonio, because one of the things that is both an opportunity and a challenge is all of these historical and cultural assets and how we can modernize them without really taking away from their inherent outstanding value. So whether it's projection, whether it's art, whether it's activation, we really are trying to kind of bring these spaces that have narratives and stories that are pre-existent and really kind of balance this, again, new niche nuances and FOMO experience opportunities with this really important narrative and story that could be indigenous, that could be really the founding of our city, that sometimes even hyper locals forget or pass over. But by reinvigorating spaces that already have this kind of emotional attachment or tradition, it really provides for some rich engagement. Another kind of opportunity that Centro always likes to really have fun with is we really have a playful mission value, making downtown San Antonio the most playful city in America. That's kind of the goal of our CEO, Matt Brown, whose background includes inventing toys. So we really have tried to embrace that. And one of the ways that I was really motivated and inspired was we brought snow last year, snow flurries. And I don't mean the Texas snowstorm. This was before that, right? But bringing in kind of these experiences that may happen rarely or are always frequent in San Antonio and South Texas, we really were able to create these kind of nostalgic images that were safe and fun, but had transactional benefit in providing foot traffic and this curiosity of finding these snow places so that way they can enjoy them, but also experience the, again, tenured multi-generational businesses and small economies that are existent in sometimes siloed block to blocks, right? So that was another kind of victory for ours, in that we could kind of control the narrative and really provide some exciting content, but also provide, joy-fueled free hope. Whether you attended the snow or not, people were viewing it, people were commenting, and it made them feel positive and hopeful in a time that was really quite traumatic for everybody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It occurred to me that the last several times I've been in San Antonio, I've also noticed it is certainly a very innovative downtown. I think you guys have embraced these new technologies in a way that not every downtown area has done as successfully. Do you see that, having a role in the greater cycle of people, having this great experience whenever they're traveling into the downtown area?
Absolutely. I think San Antonio does not get enough credit for the innovation, whether it's, again, what I mentioned in finding solutions for historical and cultural assets, but also this burgeoning tech district that's been created in downtown. Makers and artisans are the original, entrepreneurs, creative entrepreneurs. And by really focusing and expanding what that entrepreneurship and creative class can be focused on, I think is important, specifically with military and technological. On Houston Street specifically, the heart and soul of our downtown, you can find Code Up, which is teaching people how to code and really enter that job force. You also have this incredible advocacy group called Tech Block, which rallies behind all kinds of issues, not just related to the tech industry. It could be related to transportation and multimodal options. They were very instrumental in bringing in scooters, which was important. That bike and scooter class really wanted to see that in their downtown, and were able to rally really, a group of people to vocalize this to city and county and municipal planning agencies, but also the military. We're a military city, and while we don't have a base downtown, a lot of the military, when they're transitioning out of active service, are choosing to make San Antonio their home. mostly because it's affordable, it's dynamic, but also because we really have supported how to bring them into local economies and how to inspire new economies with this incredible human capital that we have available to us in all parts of our city. So it's really, I think, a dynamic time for San Antonio, and really that military and technological economies that, again, can transfer over into culinary, into other small business and hyper local economies that post-pandemic are going to be really critical in diversifying how people are employed, where they're seeking fulfillment in their contributions to their city, but again, contributing to the health and wealth of the city of San Antonio as a whole.
Oh yeah. So there was something you said in there that occurred to me, that you must have an opportunity doing what you do to work so closely with the transit authority, because obviously you've got to sew together the people for the potential for people to extend their walk, to be able to get around the downtown area or get to a parking venue more easily, or to some activity that they might be traveling to. Does the relationship with transit authorities give you an opportunity to activate transit hubs, transit stops, transit centers?
Absolutely. Connectivity, I think, is going to be a critical issue for all cities in America, if I'm being quite frank. We have a baby boomer generation that's transitioning into retirement, and connectivity to both social and medical uses and needs, they're going to be really important. But on top of that, it's hot. So we're looking at shade. We're looking at amenities that help support that connectivity and travel, whether you're in a car, on a bike, on foot. And the Riverwalk extensions really were a great example of that, but we're certainly not done there. On the west side and southwest side, you can really see some incredible additional ecosystems developing, and you will be able to connect from Woodlawn Lake to the Missions. I mean, that linear park alone, people could ride their bike to regional centers. And I really feel confident that San Antonio is going to be that example that offers all multimodal options while also providing those important amenities, which are heat, right, and shade, in really thoughtful ways, but also in rallying those communities. A lot of the downtown adjacent communities have low socioeconomic disinvestment. They're not civically engaged as much, but they offer this human capital potential and unrivaled kind of arts and creative cultures that we would want to connect to them. We want them to be part of that greater downtown network, but we're also speaking to other regional centers, again, to ensure that downtown is speaking to the medical area. Downtown is speaking to Port San Antonio and Brooks, which is another great ecosystem development. So while downtown needs to be that center for connectivity, it does need to also be a diligent partner in connecting to these other places that are important to all users, and that, again, resonate with hyper locals, and especially that baby boomer generation that, again, we're going to see them really making an impact, and that connectivity is going to be so important by 2040 that we got to start now in order to really balance and make sure that we do it well.
Yeah, right. And the neatest thing about all this for me is that when you're speaking about this, you mentioned a couple of things that we often see in other cities. The one thing about the FOMO of hyperlocals, I mean, Rudy Herrera does a 4-story mural. Locals want to get down there and see that. I mean, that's a neat thing to go see. And then there's this thing that occurs where people are walking around downtown. Now they've gone to see an activity, an activation of some sort, or some neat art installation. They're walking around downtown. Ultimately, they're spending money. Yeah. So your taxpayers have got to see this incredible benefit from this just vibrant, scene that you've created in downtown, and you must get to see that every single day. Do people understand what you've done for the local economy?
I think so, but I think what doesn't always get highlighted that is really special to us is, we have 100 men and women who wake up every day and are dedicated to making sure that those mission values are accomplished, that beautiful, that welcoming, that playful, and that prosperous. And those are our Centro ambassadors. What is an unknown kind of narrative is that is a workforce development program with Haven for Hope, our local homeless shelter. So not only are we contributing and making sure that downtown is safe for everyone, we're really reacclimating some vulnerable populations by putting them back to work. And they have this inherent love and joy of making sure that that experience is protected. So whether it's disinfecting, whether it's dealing with kind of the non-glamorous stuff, whether it be fecal matter or bird abatement, you know, you have this team of people that are ensuring that all stakeholders are welcomed, excuse me. And that to me is the greatest triumph in really making sure that individual experiences and encounters are met and balanced and addressed. But again, we have this mighty street team of thoughtful innovators and placemakers that are wearing our brand and representing Centro as well as our city in ways that our work, while the art is great, really makes a difference every day. I do see hyper locals falling back in love with downtown, which is really encouraging. You know, we always want to inspire all users, but I think San Antonio for a long time was very dependent on visitors, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We benefit from the hotel occupancy tax, and it goes towards a lot of those kind of larger efforts, but make no mistake, you know, downtown is for everyone, but I think this pandemic and this moment of reflection and pause has allowed us to really ensure that hyper locals are engaged and that they have experiences for them year round. They know how to get here, they know what's available to them, and really clustering these experiences with not just a one-off of coming down at Christmas to see the lights when you have family in town, but inspiring them to come down, you know, weekly and ensure that they're staying in touch and on the pulse of all these kind of very great urban experiences that, again, they don't want to miss out on. They see it on Instagram and they want to be part of it. So that kind of nostalgia and intoxication of, you know, their relationship with downtown is really important and critical. And it's a joy to serve all those users, but most especially those hyper locals.
Yeah, that's so neat. That's just so neat. So it is a special place. Can you tell us, is there one little corner of downtown San Antonio, or one little place where you just think, gosh, this is just a little magical spot for me? Can you?
Well, I'm going to be kind of lazy because I can look out and see Houston Street right now, historic Houston Street, which I mentioned. We led an Activate Houston Street initiative that was really important because it really is the pulse and the lifeblood and the corridor of our downtown. It was rivaled to Fifth Avenue in terms of shopping and the square footage retail value of properties back in the 1930s, but due to kind of sprawl and vehicles coming more into our lives, it really wasn't seen as this important connector. But since then, we've seen this influx of kind of infill development. We're seeing a lot of new retail and really this creative entrepreneurial spirit that the tech district and other kind of economic development partners, but we now have these co-working spaces. We're seeing a lot more foot traffic that people aren't just going to the Alamo, they're meandering down Houston Street and able to really experience some of the culture that, again, sometimes people go to the Riverwalk and the Alamo and they miss out on the street level opportunity and narratives and stories. So Houston Street is probably the most near and dear place to my heart, mostly because I use it every day and it's outside of our office, but it also plays an important role in a lot of important community conversations, whether they be social justice. You know, Houston Street is where we celebrate our victories, we mourn our losses, we have important conversations. And I think for that reason, it holds such an important place in my heart.
That's great. You know, I mean, I think that you find that in any little city, if you get to know any city, if you get to know the city well, you find that little corner, that little spot, or that special experience that you always love. For you at the beginning of all this, you mentioned something that would have always stuck with me: seeing bald eagles. I mean, how incredible to see bald eagles in the middle of an urban center like that. San Antonio is the 7th largest city in the United States. Is that correct?
Yep.
Amazing. Well, we encourage people to visit and invest in San Antonio and spend some real time there. It's a great city. Liz, Burt, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully we'll see you at the Downtown Alliance sometime soon, and hopefully we'll see you in San Antonio soon.
Thank you so much. Appreciate this time and opportunity.
Thank you.